Hi everyone, it's Sally here on my LK150 video series 2, Hems and Edgings, and this is going to be the first video on the hems section. I think I'm going to need 2 videos to do all the hem variants. So first video coming up on hems. Now hems are one of those things that look easy and are it's really quite difficult to get them done well. And when I was going on in the introduction and on the planning and preparation side of things about practicing stuff beforehand, hems is definitely one of the things I have in mind there, because there's a lot of factors that need to be taken into account when knitting a turned hem. As I say, it sounds so simple, but there's lots of stuff you need to think about. First of all, when are you likely to use a turned hem? Well, I often use them at the bottom of tunic tops where I don't want something pulling in tight around my hips. And you can use them on lots of other things as well, little kids' dresses or edges of blankets, all sorts of stuff. But a basic flat hem is something I would use, say, on like a tunic top, something I want to hang loose rather than cling tight around me. So yeah, what do you need to take into account? Well, first of all, your yarn. Again, the thickness of the yarn, its fibre content are all going to have an effect on the hem itself. The heavier the yarn you use, the thicker and bulkier this hem is going to look. And I actually probably would not use a turned hem on anything much heavier than about a worsted or an Aran weight of yarn. Turned hems on chunky can look really sort of bulky and sometimes quite ugly. So again, try it out first. Could be that you might not like the result. The fibre content is important, as well as thickness. Something that you can block and press, iron afterwards, is going to help you deal with the dreaded kick. That's what is required. What I mean by kick is it's when you get this happening on your hem. You don't want that. I mean, this one is one I've just tried, and it's actually sitting reasonably flat. But sometimes if you don't knit the hem in a suitable manner for the yarn, it will start flipping up towards the front. Not something you want. Right. When I talk about blocking, I use these blocking boards. These are specifically made for knitters. They were made by Knit Pro. There are possibly other brands out there as well. I think mine came from Amazon. And you get 9 boards in a little carry bag, and they obviously have these like jigsaw edges so that they interlock together, so you can make them up into bigger pieces depending on the size of the whatever it is that you want to block out. And they come with a pack of the T-pins so that you can pin out your work and then use an iron. I mean, you can't iron directly onto this, obviously, because it's some sort of synthetic stuff. But you can put wet cloth over, iron on top of that, or you can steam to treat your piece of knitting, and then leave it pinned on there till it's cooled or dried. So let's have a look first of all then at hems. Now, there's usually a couple of favourite ways of dealing with the hem to try and make it sit flat. The first one is to knit the inside portion of it at a tighter tension than the outside, to stop it from trying to flip up forwards. Depending on which machine you've got, obviously these plastic machines have half-point graduations in between the whole numbers, so you can go down 1 dot or 1 whole number from your main tension to achieve a tighter inner section. If you're on a metal bed machine, they usually have 2 dots in between, so you might want to try it on 1 dot, 2 dot, or a whole number to see which result gives you the or which one gives you the best result. So this one I knitted on one whole number below main tension. My main tension I'm using on this yarn is 4. So the inside of this was done on 3. So I'm now going to do one where the inside is done on half a dot below, so you can see the difference. So let's pull out. I'm not going to do very wide pieces for these samples, just from a time perspective. But I would recommend that when you do your experiments, your practice pieces, you do at least 40 stitches, because a bigger piece will behave in a different way to a smaller or more narrow piece. So, right, casting on with waste yarn, tie me knot in the end, and hook round the clamp, and feed through the carriage. Make sure you can see me quite nicely. Okay, so I'm going to cast on at main tension, which is 4, and use my cast on comb. I see a lot of beginners have some difficulties with their knitting on this machine, and I'm firmly of the belief it's because they leave this in for too long. You're given claw weights, these things, and I know they're stingy and they only give you 2, but you do really need more. So Amazon sell them. You can buy a pack of 5 for something around about £18. I would recommend getting at least 1 pack, if not 2 extra. Right, so knit back. Oops. Now I should have put my intermediate needles out, but I didn't. I forgot, so I'll do it this time. And put my waste yarn on the twiddle stick. Oops, dropped a stitch there. Now, see, I think this happens because the edge isn't weighted. So I'm going to take my comb off and put weights on. And these claw weights enable you to get a much more precise application of weight where it's needed. Maybe put a third one in the middle. Finish with the carriage on the left. And knit 1 row with ravel cord. Now reset your row counter and get your main yarn and turn down. This time it's going to be just 1 dot, that's half a number down, and we're going to knit 10 rows. Make sure the end stitches have knitted off. Move your weights up regularly. Now, depending on how long you're knitting your hem, when you reach the halfway point, in my case it's 10 rows, I'm going to turn this dial up to 1 number above main tension. This is going to create a fold row, and then back down to main tension for the outer part of the hem. Another 10 rows. And there's my 10 rows. So I've knitted 21 altogether. 10 on the inside, the fold row, which you might just be able to see here, and 10 on the inside, the fold row, 10 on the outside. Lost my thread there a minute. Take the weights off and find your transfer tool. Now, as with any pickup where you're picking up from the bottom, you will have one stitch less than you have on the needles because you're picking up the bottom of the loop rather than the top of it. So you've got your, just checking you can see me, you've got your edge thread coming off of here and then the first loop. So pick that up and put onto the second needle. Now I usually pull these out to D just because it's easier to pick these stitches up. Now a lot of people, me included, quite often will tip these up to flick them on, but you're much more likely to drop stitches if you do it like that. That's all I'll say on that subject. I mean, I do it too, but you know, I've got a lot of experience. But for beginners, and you should just be able to pull, and it should just flip onto the needle there. Shouldn't really need to be doing this. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, whatever you prefer. You can, of course, if you're handy with it, pick up 2 at a time when you get practiced at it. Right, pull that last one out and reattach some weights. And now this first row across here, I'm going to turn it up again to 1 number above main tension. And usually then at this point, this is when you're going to reset your row counter to start counting stitches for the body piece. And I will now knit another row at main tension plus 1 before switching back to main tension. I'm about to run out of yarn here. Keep these weights moving up. I might just as well knit this yarn off. It's nearly run out. There it comes. Now remove the weights and take the knitting off and pull out the ravel cord, and the waste yarn will fall away. So now, to my mind, that is flipping up forwards more than the other piece was. If I lay it flat, it's got more of a tendency to curl up. I'll find the bit I had before. Here it is. You can just see the slight difference in those two pieces between one that's sitting nice and flat and one that isn't. I mean, that might correct with a bit of blocking or pressing, excuse me. But to me, I think that indicates that if I was trying this out, I would be using main tension minus 1 whole number for my hem. Right, so now, as I said, that these turned hems, because they're double thickness, can look quite bulky, particularly with the thicker yarn. So I'm going to show you a method to reduce the bulk. So I've just snagged a nail. I usually keep one of the non-knitting things I keep by my knitting machine is some emery boards. for dealing with snaggy nails. Now, I need another ball of yarn, so I'll start using this dark maroon. Oh no, hang on, I've got a pink one here. There's quite a lot left on that one. It might come in handy for some hats or something, so I'm going to use this pink. But I'll put my waste yarn back on first. So now I'm going to pull forward alternate needles again for cast on. Main tension cast on. It. And this time I'm going to intentionally leave alternate needles out of work, as I want I just want to knit on alternate needles to begin with. And finish with the carriage on the left again. Cut the thread. And again, I'm going to remove the comb and put claw weights on. Oops, that one's got a bit bent out of shape. If the claws on your weights get a bit out of line, you can usually just literally bend them back into place with your fingers, or poke them with. I have a pair of jeweler's pliers hanging around somewhere. Right, I'm going to thread up this pink. But first of all, I want to do my one row with ravel cord, which has fallen on the floor. There we go. Now reset row counter, and as we've decided that one whole number gives a better result than half a number, I'm going to turn my dial down to 3, and now I'm going to knit. I'm going to do a 10 row hem again. I'm going to knit 6 rows on alternate needles. Just make sure these first ones on the edge knit through. That's 6 rows. Now put the intermediate needles into work. So you're going to need an odd number for this hem, and then knit the next 4. So that's now put every needle into work. So now knit your turning row, main tension +1. Back to main tension and knit the 10 rows. Move the weights up. So again, that's 21 rows in total. Yarn. So I'm looking for my 2x1 tool. Now, on this one, because you've only got alternate needles on this cast on this section, you pick up onto every alternate needle. So again, there's your thread coming off the side. This first loop goes on needle 2, second loop on needle 4, third loop needle 6, and so on all the way across, just picking up on alternate needles. Oops, it's me crashing about. And there's the last one. Now hold it back against the machine with your fingers and push all the needles out to D. Put weights back on. Knit your one joining row at main tension +1. Reset your row counter, but knit one more row at main tension +1, then back to main tension. There we go. Then remove the weights, cut yarn, and remove from the machine. Then you can pull the rubber cord out, the waste yarn comes away, and there is your turned hem with reduced bulk. Now you can sometimes get a ruler and slide it through the hem and pull them out again to give a slightly tighter finish on it. Oops, sorry, I saw my cast on combs falling on the floor, but never mind. Same with these ones. And then when you're blocking or steaming or whatever your garment afterwards, give them a good stretch and block into place. Now, as you can still see, this one is a lot more rolly than that one or that one. These yarns are exactly the same brand, except obviously different colours. There we go. So it does look slightly looser at the edge there, but that will be absorbed into a seam. So less bulk on the back there. That's only half a dot down, 2 rolly, 1 whole dot down. That was 1 whole dot. So yeah, a bit of experimentation to give you the most optimum result if you're going to use the tighter tension method. Some people suggest that you can keep your machine on main tension apart from the fold row and the joining row, but for both sides of the hem, keep it on main tension but knit 1 row less on the inside. So on a 10 row hem you do 9 rows, a turning row, and then 10 rows. I've not had as much success with that method as I have with using the tighter tension method, but you know, it's an option to try if you don't like the results of these. Might be worth giving it a go. Okay, so now on the next video I should be looking at picot edges.